Hey everyone, welcome to Talking Tokens, a podcast focused on interviewing the best crypto founders, market players, and up-and-coming startups that are changing the industry every single Tuesday and Thursday. I'm Jacquelyn Melinek, your award-nominated host and former senior crypto reporter turned entrepreneur, and I'm excited to be here with you all. Now, let's get into it. Today's guest is Zedd Yin, co-founder of the NFT marketplace Magic Eden. It currently has the majority market share out there across all NFT marketplaces on all blockchains, which is impressive. So, of course, we had to bring him on to talk about what's happening. Zedd, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really good to be here.
Yeah. To start off, Magic Eden launched in 2021. And for those of us who remember, that was in the early days of the NFT craze. Looking back, what was your mindset then and what made you want to co-found this in arguably what would become a saturated space?
Yeah, it's funny looking back because it feels like a totally different era, even though it's only been less than 3 years. I think that we had some fundamental motivations back then. So me and my co-founders, we all came from basically working in different parts of consumer tech. We met in San Francisco. A couple of the guys met in Australia. And we've always been using crypto products more because we believed in the philosophy of it. And like we just, like many people got excited about crypto for a few different things. But we always felt like there was something lacking about the ability to get tons and tons of people, like more normal people, like not just like the philosophically interested people into crypto. And I never felt there was a possibility to do that until NFTs came along. So when we were starting to use NFTs ourselves on Ethereum and then later on Solana before we launched Magic Eden, it just felt like something was different. So that was some of the underlying motivation. And then when we started to think about what that could look like and what that could be, we even ourselves felt that most of what we were owning and most of what we were appreciating from any kind of ownership perspective was more and more happening just on chain. And that was actually like one of the big moments or lessons for us that led us to then think, okay, cool, there could be something here. And if we could build an experience that allows for like amazing discovery, amazing user interaction, amazing kind of like storytelling of the kinds of NFTs that people are creating out there. And we can do it on a bunch of different places. So back then it was all these different chains. There could be something very differentiated about that. And it's sort of, who knows how big this market could be. And that was 2021. And that led us to start on Solana. And I guess the rest is somewhat history since then, since we've expanded to five chains. But yeah, that was the original thesis. And I still think it's very, very true today.
Yeah. Fast forwarding to today, like 3 years later, Magic Eden is like one of the top dogs in the space. And right now it is the top dog, like looking at some data. And over the past 3 months, it has done about $2 billion in volume. What do you kind of attribute to that success? Is it the expansion to a bunch of chains or is it the community? How do you kind of like measure that?
Yeah, it's funny. Looking back on the last few months that have been really, really good for Magic Eden. I mean, in the last year, we've had around 1 million users as well, which I think puts us sort of at the very, very top, somewhere in that top of like the biggest dApps in crypto, which is amazing because I think most of the last year was in a pretty tough market. I think I attribute a lot of it actually to some of the diligence that we had as a team and some of the conviction we had in this ecosystem. Because when things are kind of quiet, it's very easy to then say, oh no, maybe like NFTs are not going to make it, or maybe this thing in crypto is not going to make it. We're going to go chase the next shiny new thing. I mean, we see it all the time, right? We see it all the time. And it's hard not to do that in crypto because everything's moving on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Mm-hmm. But we spent a lot of last year doing a lot of like, I describe it as kind of like dirty work, like really behind the scenes work. We added a lot of infrastructure that enabled us to then add chains more quickly. We decided to build and invest in the Bitcoin ecosystem through ordinals. This was back in February of 2023 when basically it definitely was not a market, and a lot of people were thinking,
days, yeah.
Exactly. A lot of people were thinking, oh, we've gone from Ethereum to Solana and like really performant L2s. Why would anyone want to go back into like the the dark ages and use something that's like really slow and really expensive. But we had conviction that if there was a market for collectibles that could live on Ethereum, there's absolutely no way it wouldn't live on Bitcoin as well. So we made bets like that. But I think it comes down to the fact that you have to just be in the mindset of building this business for a really long time. Like there are going to be months where you do amazing things. Like, the last 3 months we did 2 billion plus in volume. But if you look at the year before that, it was also a really, really tough grind to kind of get us into this position. But the thing that holds and ties like our team and what we are building together is the fact that we think this is, it's like a decades long kind of exercise, because stuff doesn't move on chain immediately, right? It just doesn't happen by itself. You've got to will it into existence. And the way to do that is, for us, we want to build the best and most seamless multi-chain user experience to discover anything that's on chain. And we're doing that obviously through NFTs. And we're starting to see now many, many different kinds of markets emerge on all these different chains. So it's really, really cool to see that thesis kind of play out and come to fruition. Yeah.
I mean, Magic Eden is constantly like pumping out updates and products for its users, which is, helpful, and it helps build an ecosystem, and we just saw the Bitcoin focused runes launch on Magic Eden, as you mentioned. How quickly do you guys kind of go from, okay, this is an idea, this is something that's like a narrative in crypto, to we're going to put it out there, we're going to ship it, and we're going to see if our users actually want this?
Yeah, this is a constant, I imagine a lot of founders have this constant tension. We definitely have this tension of, you plan for some time horizon ahead, whether it's like the next month or the next quarter, and you say like, cool, these are the things we're going to work on. But in crypto, you kind of need to have some level of flexibility in your roadmap, because you just never know what is around the corner. And for us, ordinals and runes, both of those things, I would say from start to finish, from like when we first started talking about it in the company to when we actually shipped the product, both were roughly around 1 month, which is,
that's pretty
I
fast,
would say, for a company of our size, we're about 120, 130 people. It's effectively moving on a dime, I think. And I'll sort of explain a little bit about how we even arrive at that and how we can make that happen, because it doesn't come just by default. With runes, for example, we knew that it was happening, and Casey Rodemore had obviously put out a lot of information about runes. And our thesis there was basically that, okay, we are already pretty deep in the Bitcoin ecosystem through ordinals. And if you believe that a fungible token market could exist on Bitcoin, then this is a bet that's worthwhile making. And for us then, to make that happen, we had to make obviously some trade-offs to get there. But it kind of, what's unique about, I think, the Magic Eden team is that a lot of these ideas come from the grassroots of the company, in that it comes from the people, our team, that are in the Discords, on Twitter, who are following these things, and they have that intuition about, as a user myself, I'm going to want to use that, right? And that then allows us to have the conviction to make those bets, because otherwise, to do some analysis to decide whether or not you want to invest in runes and how many people to invest in all these things, it's almost like an impossible answerless question. But the thing that gives us the conviction is the fact that we're in there, we're pretty close to the community. We are talking to people every day, and we get the sense that these things are going to get traction, and then we invest quickly. So end to end, probably about a month. And ordinals was the same. We kind of got a house, got our engineers together. They hacked on it for a couple of weeks, and
little hackathon,
little hackathon, and they managed to get it out pretty quickly, which is amazing.
All right. What else can we kind of expect for developments on the rune front from Magic Eden? Like, I feel like we're in the early stages of this. What else can we expect to see?
Yeah. It's the market is definitely really, really early. I think it's always funny in crypto, like the things before they launch, they get so much hype, and people are so excited about them, and it's almost like you're never able to meet the expectation ever for anything, because people just pump it up too much. So it's funny now that after runes is launched, people are are like already saying like, oh, is this going to make it? Is this, what's the situation? Which is kind of funny. From our sense, yeah, there's a lot that we still want to build. So, I mean, it's been, at the time of recording, we're about 5 days into Runes as a whole thing, which is still extremely, extremely early. And for us, we've been doubling volume every day. So I think as of yesterday, we did about $12 million in volume, which is amazing for a very, very early and nascent market. What we launched and what I think is pretty common in the market today is that there's a very, very basic trading experience. It's kind of like I would always think about it as like almost a hybrid between NFTs and fungible tokens, because you have to the way you trade is you have to buy in these lots, and that in some ways creates a little bit of friction, right? It's not something that I think ordinarily people are used to if you're used to trading on Uniswap or something like that.
Right.
So there's a ton that we are working on here to really, really step change that experience. And you can imagine a super seamless sort of end-to-end interface on Magic Eden where you can come, you'll be met with almost like a CoinMarketCap style visualization of the market for Runes. And then from there, you can click into anything and there'll be an immediate sort of swap experience that's possible for users in the same, product and mental model that they're used to already, whether it's Uniswap they use or some other decentralized exchange. And today, that's not exactly possible because the tools and the tech are just not there. But this is some of the stuff that we are going to continue to invest in. The other really big thing that's coming on the Runes front is many more tools that enable the creation and minting around it. And right now, like there's very little ways to actually distribute some of these, and mainly because we're just super early and projects and creators are still trying to figure out how to actually use it. And some of that tooling is we're going to be partnering pretty closely with some teams and also building some stuff ourselves to just make that market a lot simpler for people to use.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the responsibility or pressure is on you guys to keep the hype alive after you launch these things? Because like I agree with you 100%. There's so much hype leading up to a lot of these launches, and then people get really excited. They try to get in, get out, or get in and hold. How do you kind of keep that momentum alive?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is at the category level, I think, we will only build the things that we have deep excitement and conviction around, right? So as an example, at the level of do we like Runes and do we think Runes has a place in this community? Like 100%, we feel that way. Yeah, 100%. If it isn't already clear. That all we can do there is basically we can kind of lay out what our vision is for what this can become, right? And I'll give you an example of that because I think it illuminates maybe where some of our excitement comes from. If you look at most chains, at least the chains that have any kind of traction like Ethereum, Solana, etc., fungible tokens are a massive part of those ecosystems. In fact, on Ethereum, it's already bigger, as a total market cap, it's way bigger than the actual value of the chain itself. And not to say that that's exactly what it will become for Bitcoin and Runes, but this is the technology, some evolution of the technology that is probably the first time that you can even conceive of that being even possible. And for us, we're in what gets us going is kind of making some of these big, bold bets around that because, we love the fact that people can interact and do things, trade, exchange value on chain. That's the thing that gets us excited. And the fact that that can happen on Bitcoin and what we've seen on other chains means that this opportunity could be really, really massive. And then maybe then to answer your question another way as well, which is then for the specific launches, if there's a specific Runes token or something like that, we're not really in the business of trying to hype this or hype that. We have no idea. Right. I think we just want to build the best kind of experience that brings projects to the table who are excited and want to use Runes for something, and then also people who want to buy and sell. I think that's the kind of stuff that we are really good at, rather than picking the winners, so to speak. It's all about like, we like the category, we see what this can become. Let's try and lay that out so people can also see that. And then here is the platform, the experience that hopefully is the best and easiest to use.
Do you have a favorite between like runes, ordinals, or like traditional NFTs, or just even like a specific blockchain?
Oh, you can't ask me that. That's
I just
did. Okay. I will say that I have a pretty soft spot for ordinals. Yeah, mainly because from the very beginning of when, even personally, I got interested in NFTs, and a lot of people, when they got interested in NFTs, the whole thing was that, these media, this media type or this media file was living on chain, and that was kind of the belief, right? But actually, for most NFTs that are on Ethereum and Solana, that actually wasn't actually the case.
Right.
So in some ways, ordinals, there is some more like purer element of it that I think is just, it ties everything together in a really nice way. And I almost think that if you're going to use ordinals, there's almost some forcing mechanism or natural barrier to entry, which then leads to what I think is like eventually a flight or a higher sense of quality that comes to use this chain.
Yeah, you have to really,
because it's gonna. You got to really want to do it. Exactly. You got to really want to spend, whatever, like a few $100 in fees to make this thing happen. So
that's
the average, like, yeah. So it's a little more challenging. I think that creates a different sense of like, this stuff is a bit more premium in some ways. I don't know. That's just some like very subjective feelings. It's probably not the best like answer, but that's probably where I am. But honestly, I kind of look at all of this as some evolutions of like developing use cases in crypto. Because I'll say one thing, which was when I first got into crypto when I was working at DYDX, like one of the decentralized exchanges, and I was there for 3 years, and over those 3 years, we probably built 3 or 4 totally different products, all in the trading space, but they were really radically different. One was like spot trading, one was margin trading. Then we went to perpetuals. We even did like leverage tokens, all this kind of stuff. But the really cool thing was that all of that kind of pushed along like the innovation curve for basically trading products on DeFi that were native to on-chain. And I kind of feel the same way about NFTs. NFTs was a very specific like type of thing in 2021, and it's easy to kind of draw the line to connect it to what it is today. But if you look at it today, just stepping back, there's actually, the market is just way wider, right? Because you have NFTs on all these different chains. You have these hybrid NFTs now that are like kind of fungible / like 404, they call it 404. You have ordinals, you have runes, and then you have a bunch of more like types of creators that are experimenting with how to launch, right? There's like refundable NFTs, there's gaming items, there's all these different things now. So I just think that for us as a platform, you kind of have to love the evolution here and try and support the new things, because that's the stuff that is going to hopefully push everything forward.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to everything that's accessible on your platform, what is the customer feedback like? Are there any that you thought would be more successful and you were surprised the demand wasn't there, or vice versa? You were surprised that so many people wanted so much of X opposed to Y?
It's a good question. I think probably the one that's been most interesting is we've been surprised how quickly people have adopted the Magic Eden cross-chain wallet. So one of the big learnings we had launching ordinals last year was that it was really hard to get people to use Bitcoin, because no one has that in hot wallets, right? Like absolutely no one. It's either on an exchange or it's in a ledger or something. So then we actually then wanted to solve that problem, because it was a true user need. and we built the cross-chain wallet to basically enable anyone to be able to swap things like Solana, Ethereum, USDC, a bunch of different currencies into Bitcoin and out of Bitcoin super, super easily, right? So that was like one of the big theses for us. And we launched that maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And the uptake has been crazy because we didn't really put it into like, I don't know, user surveys or user research, anything like that. We kind of just had some intuition that there was a need for this product. And we've had about 500,000 people download the wallet in about 3 months, which has far exceeded what we have even thought. And it goes to show you don't need to innovate with something totally crazy that doesn't exist. It's more just like solve a super small basic need that someone has that they demonstrated, and that actually is can be really like needle moving. So that's an example of something that I think has gone better than expected for us. I think one of the things that has been maybe on the harder side of like we thought people would like it, but they didn't really use it, was we launched our marketplace on Polygon maybe 18 months ago, and with the thesis that a lot of gaming NFTs would take off around that time. And I mean, it's just the market just wasn't there yet. It's just too early, I think. And a lot of these games are building, and gaming is kind of pretty fragmented now across all the chains. So we're still in a little bit of a mode of observing where this market's going to come alive. We still have conviction around the long term, but that was probably an area that it ended up being pretty tough. Yeah, it was a little bit too early.
Yeah, Magic Eden has a pretty big presence in the gaming space, right?
Yeah,
that's something you guys are investing in. I guess on that front, there's so many different chains that are focusing on it, and some of them have like a lot of traction, and then others are trying to build that. Do you kind of see a world where they kind of merge together to all work towards that thesis, or no, it's going to be segmented?
I think I personally hope that it's not going to become but I don't know. Realistically, my honest take is that I think it's going to get more fragmented before
you're honest,
closer together. I'll give you the real take. And the reason I say that is because it is somewhat of a if you think about what a game is trying to do, a successful game will have a lot of users, right? It's very hit or miss. There's not really middling outcomes. And if a game is really successful, they'll have immense distribution just on their own. And as a result, for them to have that, from like a very business, or you can call this even a mercenary sort of sense, they will want to leverage that distribution to capture as much value as possible. And now we're at the point where, it's possible to capture a lot of value if you're building everything down the stack, especially the chain as well. Now that spinning up new L2s and L3s are just a lot easier than it used to be a couple of years ago.
It's happening every day,
it's every day. Yeah. Easy is an understatement, I guess.
No,
it's just, So I expect to see a lot more of that. I expect to see lots more games try and do that. And we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I think for us, the way we want to support it is, this is part of the reason why I think we believe pretty deeply that we have to be at some sort of meta layer that supports all the chains, right? Because I would think we'll see more fragmentation than convergence on the chain front for at least a little while.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. And kind of like shifting gears a little bit, something I want to ask, and this is like the journalist in me, even though Magic Eden is doing well right now, how do you guys kind of hedge and manage risk when NFT sales are so volatile? The industry is kind of, up and down. It seems like things are coming back, but we're not near that like 2021, 2022 highs. What do you guys kind of do to like protect yourselves or think about that?
Yeah, I'll answer that from two lenses, because I think it's a question we think about a lot. So on lens number one, the way I'll answer it is, I think it's more like how do you insulate the team and stay focused, because it's really hard. Naturally, It's really hard to do that when things are just really going up and down. And one thing we do on that front is we spend a lot of time actually reminding the team, both in good times and bad, that things are never as good as they seem and never as bad as they seem. And we say that, we said that last year when we had our worst month of the year. We said that last month when we had our best month in maybe 2 years, right? But it's important to reiterate that because, in some ways to last the distance, you've got to be able to keep a level head. And I think that's super important, especially what we are building. And then from like a company perspective, I mean, like a lot of people may think that just because we're in crypto, when we're a crypto company, we run the company a certain way and do things that are really risky. Actually, it couldn't be further from the truth in that like a lot of what we spend time on is not only obviously product building, but also company building. And company building is not only like a hiring and all that, it's also governance, right? It's like making sure you have the right finance, accounting, legal, HR and people systems in the company. We're just building a normal company at the end of the day. It just happens.
It sounds so normal, but it's not. Yeah, to everyone in crypto.
But I think the norm that you see in crypto is just a few small degen teams shipping things really fast, and then they disappear or something or whatever. Like some stuff goes wrong. I think we're not really in that. We don't really think about that because we know we're trying to build something that's meant to last for decades, and therefore, not only does the product have to be excellent and we have to innovate on that front, but we also have to build an elite and excellent company. And a lot of the foundations there are things that like a lot of people on the outside may not at all see. But one of the reasons why I think if you look at someone like Coinbase, they've lasted the distance. Maybe they weren't the first and most innovative always in the market. I mean, they're definitely very innovative, but they were maybe not the first all the time. But they've built an amazing company from a foundation level because they've managed all of the ups and downs, the risk, all this kind of stuff that a lot of people don't think about too much. And that's super critical, I think, to build a company for decades.
Yeah, no, for sure. They also kind of expanded their product offerings beyond just like a centralized exchange to, the wallet, their NFT marketplace, which, didn't do as well as Magic Eden's, and obviously Base and other things. Do you kind of see Magic Eden expanding beyond like an NFT marketplace into other assets and sectors?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think one of the things that I often think about is that when we first started this company, what I said before about what got us excited was the fact that we wanted to actually help basically move a lot of value on chain. And the way we talk about it internally is that our mission is basically to make digital ownership universal across everybody, right? Which today it's not very true. I think there's a very small subset of people that actually truly own stuff, at least in like an on-chain way. And to that end, we are not that particular about what kinds of assets or what kinds of things actually move and capture and like store value on chain. NFTs happen to be like, I think the biggest and most consumer friendly use case there. But you look at something like Runes is kind of, the lines are blurring a little bit, right? Runes is not really an NFT, I think. But it sort of is as well because it is in these bundles and it is in lots, you can collect it, all this kind of stuff. So I think our Magic Eden is just the place where any kind of on-chain value can be exchanged or can be moved around. And I think that depending on where the assets end up over time, we'll start to see many, many more interesting use cases that then will lead people to think that, NFT marketplaces, they're not going to look kind of like the way they look today, right? The way they look today, I think, is still a very primitive version of it. Whether that means we end up doing stuff outside of NFTs or NFT marketplaces just look different, it's very hard to say. But I think we're very open to that because our thesis is sort of broader than just NFTs as a mandate.
I guess we'll see. Do you kind of see a world where the NFT space in general hits like new all-time highs compared to what we've seen, or was that just like a astronomical boom and we won't hit that again?
I think we'll definitely see it again. Absolutely. Yeah. I really believe that because
This cycle?
I mean, definitely what we saw last cycle was pretty
Hmm.
crazy. It definitely was. But at the same time, um, if you look at what has happened since then and the users and the expansion across the chains and the fact that people were trading ordinals in a really, really bad bear market, the fact that now all of this Bitcoin liquidity that has previously been locked up with nothing to really do with it can now be unleashed because Bitcoin has some native on-chain use cases. I actually think that that is a very, very underappreciated um, event that is unique to this cycle. I think a lot of people have thought about, yes, there's a lot of like ETF inflows coming into the market. That is
Hmm.
obviously pretty massive. But from a on-chain perspective, there's relatively less attention on the fact that now there's a lot of Bitcoin that can actually be put to work. And as a result, I think this is my personal take. This is not the company take, so I'll caveat that is that I think the
Right.
next run will be led by Bitcoin, and we'll see some pretty insane activity on the Bitcoin network that we've never seen before.
Do you think that's this cycle though, or it would be down the line?
Depends how you define this cycle. I think is it in the next 18 months? Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
in the
let's
next
go
18
there.
months. Yeah.
All right, we're
Yep.
gonna have to do another episode then once it happens. Um,
Yeah, now you're gonna hold me accountable to this now.
literally. Okay. I want to move into this new segment, and since this is literally our second episode, you are going to be the first person to test it out. So I call it
Okay.
Jack in a Hat, and I cut up like a bunch of little pieces of paper. If you're watching this on video or you just like ASMR, you can hear it. Of a bunch of questions, and they're like very generic, but it's kind of like to get to know you better.
Okay.
So we'll ask a few, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Let's do
Tell me
it.
when to stop.
Start.
Okay. What's this one? Oh, that's very, very telling. Okay. This is so Magic Eden. Do you own any NFTs? And if so, what's your favorite one? Also,
Oh
I thought you'd
man.
love to see that we're using a Magic Eden hat for this.
Oh, let's go. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I do own a bunch
So
of
of course you own
NFTs.
NFTs. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And I would say I have a few favorites. Some stuff that I'll probably hold for a very long time. I have an Azuki that I'll hold probably for a very long time. I know the team, they care a lot.
Yeah.
I really like
Yeah.
them.
Like the
I
Azuki
think they
team.
hit, yeah, they hit for the long term. So just like those guys. I have a bunch of ordinals. Obviously, it would be wrong of me not to mention it, given our conversation. Um, and I have a bunch of stuff there that I think I'll collect for a long time. I think one of the ones that are it's very representative of I think the ordinals ecosystem is ordinal maxi business
Hmm.
run by this guy called ZK, and I think it's a really cool community, cool collection. They're really, really their whole I guess mission is to push the Bitcoin ecosystem forward, and
Hmm.
I think I think they're really cool. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Everyone go check those out. All right. Tell me when to stop again.
Stop.
Okay. Ooh, what is your biggest bet right now?
My biggest bet right now.
Hmm.
What is my biggest bet? I don't know. I don't really trade. This is from a trading perspective.
It's however you
Or
interpret it. It's
okay.
supposed to be vague on purpose, that one.
All right. So since I don't trade very much, just actively, I won't answer it that way. But I would say that, man, I made a pretty big bet when I came to crypto in 2018, 2017. From like a career
Hmm.
perspective, I kind of just bet my career on it because
Yeah.
I, yeah, I wanted to work on, this is a bit of a tangent, but I wanted to work on something where I felt like I could personally make a lot of impact. And I felt that was
Hmm.
really hard to do in a lot of traditional industries. So when I first kind of came across crypto, I felt this was the first time I felt like that was actually possible. So
Hmm.
I guess that is my big bet. I'm still making that bet. I'm putting my like hard my time and all my effort and energy into building Magic Eden and trying to make this thing hopefully become a worldwide, product and brand that's used by everyone. And
Yeah.
I'll be making this bet for a long time. This is definitely by far my biggest bet.
All right. I love that. That's very sweet and sentimental. That's why we do this. Okay, last one.
All right.
You tell me
Yeah,
one.
let's stop.
Okay. Um, how important is a multi-chain future?
Oh, these questions are amazing.
Well, you just keep
Extremely.
picking ones that really do apply to you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this will come as no surprise. I think it's extremely important. Yeah, we're going to be building along this thesis for a long time. It's actually just become even more crazy. When we added our first chain 12, 18 months ago, we had, like some decent conviction, pretty strong conviction, but it's almost like it can't be ignored now. So yeah, we're really lucky we made the bet early, and we'll be working on this for a while. I think it's super, super important.
What are your thoughts on modularity?
I think modularity it's yeah, I think basically there is a really, really strong chance that the modular chains end up winning out. And the reason I say that is I actually don't have that strong of an opinion or perspective on the underlying technology, because I'm not as well versed in it as I think a lot of people in the space. I'll leave that for open comment. But the stuff that I'm thinking about is more modularity than if you look at a chain like Solana versus the EVM ecosystem, for example.
Right.
All of the stuff that's happening in like the very modular world, where like everything can kind of like plug and play with each other, there is a lot of fragmentation right now, for sure. But over time, you expect that to basically be solved through some level of seamless bridging and amazing like UX at the application level. But the path to get there is pretty, it's like long and windy, I think. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think eventually, probably, I still think that gets really big. But in the near term, I feel like there's a really huge opportunity for like the Solanas of the world, Monads of the world, to also have to stake their claim, because they are scaling, they have the ability to scale a lot faster. I don't know. That was kind of a non-answer, but it
was an answer.
hard to predict. Bullish on both, good. Just depending on the time horizon.
All right. Kind of moving off that segment, I have like 2 remaining questions for you that I always love to ask guests. Outside of NFTs, what's one other thing you're watching right now that you think others should pay attention to?
Good question. I am watching. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll say one thing. I'm watching this thing pretty closely on Bitcoin that I guess this has been a thing for a while, but it's recently become more of a topic again, which is getting like a change into the Bitcoin core that allows for like smart contract and other functionality to exist. That's always been a discussion topic, but now I think it's really becoming more of a bigger topic, just because if you look at all of the activity and fees that are being generated by ordinals and runes and how much that's generating for miners, I really think that discussion needs a lot more shine and highlight, and it's not being talked about enough, because I think that could potentially be very, very massive. And yeah, if that allows L2s on Bitcoin, all this kind of stuff, that to me could be huge, and not enough people I think are talking about it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there for that to expand, and it's just like a matter of time for it to happen. And things like this will kind of hopefully expedite it. But lastly, Z, can you leave us with a piece of advice?
Piece of advice is all right, I'll give you a piece of advice, something we say a lot in the company as well, which is a lot of what we are doing is hard, and it's hard for a reason. And if you're gonna dedicate the time and energy to build something in this industry, which I commend, there's a ton of amazing people that are building stuff, so it's really, really commendable. But it's like it's actually it's like exciting and both an honor to solve the hard problems, and we should go out and try and solve the hard problems. So that's what gets us pretty excited every day. And whether you get there or not, I think the fortitude and the act of trying to push towards that, I think, is what makes all of this really exciting. So if you're on this journey, pushing on something hard, keep at it, because you never know. You're probably around the corner from something amazing.
I love that. I agree with that 100%. Z, thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.